See that out there? You know what that means? It means that it's time to go for my interview. Hey, yay! I need to get going. Interview's at noon. It's almost 10. Should leave in now. Because I need to go down to the bus stop, which is like a 15-20 minute walk. You take the bus, which is another half an hour. So that puts me at nearly 11. Then you need to take the L for however long it's going to take me to take the L to Berks. I've never taken the L to Berks, so I'm going to guess 20 minutes, probably guessing a little bit over. So yeah, that should put me there just about on time. Let's rock, shall we? Well, I'm back from my interview. As you probably can have guessed by the fact that I am now once again returned to basically normal clothes. Let me strike a light. Why not? Get us some extra light in here. And oh god, that's going to be awful because I have this thing locked at daylight. Oh boy. So, I'm back. Plain and simple. Interview went pretty well. I'm pretty satisfied with it so far. So that means 2 more to go this week for sure, and I'm in the process now. I literally just emailed the guy right before I started filming this of booking my last and final ones. That'll be all 7. Because I've done, what is this now, 4? 2 last week, 2 this week so far. Yeah, I've done 4, 3 to go. More than halfway there. 1 tomorrow, 1 day after, and 1 maybe Friday, maybe actually even early tomorrow, maybe week after, who knows, we'll figure it out. But anyway, one important thing. Alright, let me fix this color balance before I continue. That I'll have to do. But one thing that happened when I came back is actually this is the reason I was in the front room to begin with. Oh god, now I'm in daylight and it's balanced for the lights. Okay, wonderful. But ooh, delicious. As you may recall, get yourself together. This is the bread machine I've previously used. It's a Breadman, and we've had it. Oh god, we moved it at least from the old house, which means at least 6 years ago. Actually, is that 7 now? I don't even want to think about that. But yeah, we've had this thing for a long time, at least half my life, let's just say that. But one of the things we've been having a problem with recently is that the pan, it's a tall pan that sits right about here. This actually pops up a little bit whenever we're baking and it's trying to knead. So we were having problems with that. It was getting frustrating because the machine that you're supposed to be able to leave alone, you need someone to babysit it when it was doing that. So we ordered a new bread machine. The box is actually right over in here. Now, if you're like, a box and it's empty, does that mean it contains a cat? No, it doesn't. The cats we were playing in it earlier, but for the moment it's empty. So yeah, we got a new bread machine. Let's actually go take a look because I have it set up over here because I'm actually going to use it. And I realized that I don't know if I've ever shown off the beer bread recipe on camera before. It's just slightly modified one I found online. But this is the new bread machine. And it has a clock on it. We'll figure it out how to use it shortly, because in the meantime, here's the pan as well. It's a longer loaf pan. I have it upside down because I just washed it out, as you should. Man, I can't wait until we get daylight bulbs. But yeah, this is the pan. Now you'll notice it's certainly, here's the old one. It's certainly a lot longer, but also a little bit more narrow. So it creates the longer loaves as opposed to this one, which just kind of lets it rise. So it's actually a pretty nice design, and I've got the dual paddles, and the paddles are sitting right there because they fell out. And I'll need to clean it. But this is the recipe I use. I'll put a link to this in the description, which is kind of my core recipe. The only difference is that I modified this first part here where it says 9 ounces of beer, and I actually use 10. Because I find 10 actually works a lot better, especially in the old machine. But yeah, so I use that. So starting off here, I started this a little while ago. I started this before I left because I went for food quickly when I came back. As I flattened the beer and I just kind of put it in a bowl and I let it sit for about half an hour. Probably you can do, a little bit longer than that, but I kind of want to get it started. So I went over here and I then, oh god, what's the word for this? It's in the thing, and I'm blanking on it right now. Simmer, the word. It was an S word, and it was escaping me. Simmer. I let it simmer for a little while, so I have to let it cool again now so that it doesn't murder the yeast. But yeah, that's next. Now, one other flaw in this recipe that you have to be wary of is that you're supposed to put the ingredients in order from top to bottom. But keep in mind, one, this might vary with your model of bread machine, because luckily both of mine do liquids first, which is what this is recommending. But also, why would you put salt and yeast in the same spot? That doesn't make any sense. You're going to murder the yeast. So what I do is I actually put the salt up here between my olive oil and my bread flour, so it's the first dry ingredient to go in. Because it doesn't make any sense to have it the way the recipe does, where color balance, where it's going in there. So after this bread or the beer cools a little bit, and by the way, this is technically non-alcoholic, but of course you need to be 21 to buy beer. So, I mean, I guess you could cook with non-alcoholic beer. Use your favorite. But yeah, so we need to let this cool a little bit, because the recipe recommends it, under 110 Fahrenheit, 43 centigrade. So I'll let it cool for a little bit. But after that, we can start building it up a little bit. So I'm going to get the rest of the ingredients kind of measured beforehand. And they also gave me new measuring materials. This is a new 1 cup. And one of these is, the large one over here is a table. The other one's a teaspoon, 1 full, which is going to be kind of useful. So without further ado, I'm actually going to let this cool for a little bit, get the other ingredients all out. We'll build it, we'll get it started, and then we'll see what happens. Alright, so here's kind of our finished ingredients here. So in order of what's going in, the 10 ounces of beer that has now adequately cooled, 2 tablespoons of olive oil over here in this measuring cup right here in the center. Then over here next is the bread flour, which is 3.5 cups, which by the way I thought I ran out of, and I thought I would have to run more, but I found more. So luckily we're good. And it was actually not a lot. I was expecting to not have to do that, but yeah, it's a good thing to measure out your ingredients here before you get completely started. So after that, the bread flour is the 1/4 cup of sugar, which by the way, the 1/4 cup measure was actually in the other container of flour. So yeah, it was kind of nice that I found that, because I've been having to do two 1/8 cups. Not been the best. So after that, actually, I missed the salt. The salt is over here in this one, which actually needs to go in on top of these two, because again, as I was mentioning earlier, don't want the salt and yeast, which is right here, to be right next to each other. So that's 10 ounces of beer, 2 tablespoons of the olive oil, then the 3/4 of a tablespoon teaspoon, of salt, then the bread flour, 3.5 cups of it, then the 1/4 cup of sugar, then the bread machine yeast. So without further ado, let's build this pan up, shall we? You're not going to be able to see much of what I'm going to be able to do here, so I'll just have to try to turn you close and just kind of hope. Give me the screen so I can get a somewhat of a decent idea of what you can see. Yep. Alright. Beer first. Get that all nice and in there. With my ever-growing stack of measuring utilities behind me. Then, olive oil. Cooking is very precise, so try to keep things as accurate as possible. Stop that! Now the cat is not scratching the couch. Next comes the not sugar, the salt. Don't get those confused. Salt. Just a little bit on the bottom. I was just using it just because it's important. Okay. Mix up the big thing. Bread flour. Kind of important, try not to splash too much out. Yeah, I have to use the biggest measuring cup we have for this. Yeah, this pan is coming along. Alright, that's all in. Put a little bit more. It's a stack of measuring cups, it's fine. Then after this is the sugar. Gonna go right over that, and now for the salt, what I recommend, or not the salt, the yeast, it's just kind of, you want to just kind of dig a little bit of a well to put it in. I'm just going to use the measuring cup here for the that I just had the sugar in. You don't want to use the one you had salt in, could be bad. So yeah, as you can see here, I just have a little bit of a well, and we're just going to kind of put all of the yeast right down in there. Now, next is going to be actually opening this thing up, getting this in, and we'll try to figure out how it gets started. I need the manual for this because it's actually kind of confusing. Not as straightforward as the last one. So yeah, just kind of clicks into place like that apparently. Sits rather nicely. So let me go figure out how to get this thing started. We want to select a course. Alright, so we want the regular course with light and basic bread. Seems pretty good. Let's go. So it's supposed to be done at 6:40. It is now 3:25. Rest. So is it started? I guess it's started. Yeah, it turns on when the process is going. The light's on, that is. So should be good to go. Is there a timer? There might be a timer. Let me check here. Unless it was... Yeah, no, it didn't start stirring yet. Alright. Select course. Okay, well, I mean, I have it set. It says it's going. I'll try to figure out what rest is. I don't think there's a timer. Well, let go. We'll see what happens. I'm not going to baby it necessarily, but I am going to be down here over there working. Because I kind of need to be. Okay, I figured something out real quick. So apparently here, what you're supposed to do is let me just do this again for you real quick, just so you can see, oh, it actually is going to be that, like that. So I have rest off now, which I did by pushing these two buttons together on a selected cycle, because I don't really need it to rest, because I was actively taking care of my ingredients to make sure that they were actually at room temperature, you know, down there, because that's important when you make bread, just to make sure that things don't, like, for baking and reactions. But I don't need it at the moment because I have taken care of my ingredients and everything is at room temperature. The only thing that's slightly above room temperature is the beer, but it's not that far above and it's still within cooled range, so we're actually going to be okay turning rest off, which will also make the bread finish faster. As you noticed, it was getting like 6:41 before. Now we're down to like 6:14. So yeah, I was expecting to rest for quite some time, but that's okay because we turned rest off. Certainly a lot quieter. I'm not sure if you guys can see what's happening down in there. Let's try to, let's try to bring up the exposure a little bit just so you can try to get an idea of what's happening down in there. Yeah, so it's starting to need much quieter. Yeah, much more quietly than the last one, but here we are. Stella's up to eat. It's got a nice little, this is more useful to me than a little clock that tells me what time I have left, because that's what I do, is I sit there and I'm like, okay, it's this time, let's take the clock and add it to this, whereas now I'm just like, okay, it's 3:32, and then it's going to be done at 6:14, because this is important, because then I can just set my watch to be like, hey, remind me at 6:14 the bread's going to be done, and the bread will be done at then, and I'll be like, ooh, boy, happy. But yeah. Looking good so far, so we'll meet back in a while to actually look at the results. Oh boy, I'm starting to smell it.
Yeah.
It's wafting upstairs. It's got now it's a countdown. Now it says complete in 5 minutes. Yeah, so it said 6:14 at 6:10. So yeah, it seems to be pretty accurate. I can see the loaf inside there coming along pretty nicely. Yes, we get to try this. It should be lovely.
Did you get your stuff out of the oven? So
My oven?
or the butter out?
Oh, not yet. I should actually do that. Yeah.
I know the positions aren't until the end of March.
Yep. Well, here is our first loaf from the new machine. I think it came out pretty well. The lack of color balance here is actually making it look much redder than it is.
That help?
Not really, because I need to readjust the balance, which I need to cut to do. But yeah, so here it is. There's your bread machine.
Cool.
All right, that's better.
Pretty neat.
Yeah, so there's your. I might try to make it there. That's what it looks like when you're actually balanced. Yeah, so that's there. I'm cleaning up the thing because I found a recipe for cinnamon swirl, which I might try to do tonight as well. Because I'm greedy like that. But, well, we want to let this sit for a little while, and then I'll try to break into it, and we'll see what happens. You need to leave for your appointment.
Yeah.
Oh boy, one of these again? Yeah, you bet it. Okay, so, well, for starters, the bread actually came out really, really well. So well, in fact, that I actually wanted to try a second batch, so I made some cinnamon bread. And that also came out a little bit well. It was a little bit flat, so I'm not going to give that recipe away yet, because I might try a different one before I find one that I really like. But overall, yeah, it's been pretty great. Also, I know this vlog has been long, so I'm going to keep it short and just go to bed. Interview tomorrow. Gotta get ready. Fun times.